Invisible. No matter where I sit or where I stand, whether I stay or go, no matter what I do or what I don't do, I'm not sure I'm here. Nothing reassures me I am. All that is me goes unseen. Invisible in plain sight, hidden before your eyes. In the middle of the square, midday, all bright, I wear black. Do you see me yet? The sunshine knows I'm there. It coats my face, blinds my eyes, and makes my hair look lighter than it is. Maybe it sees me and I'm here after all. Or maybe the sun just shines as bright as it can, not choosing where its light lands. I would ask the sun, but I doubt it would hear my voice. Am I not really here at all? Welcome to the Memento Mori Lab podcast. I'm Myra, your host and aspiring creative friend. Invisible. Have you ever felt invisible? Not in a good invisibility cloak kind of way. Invisible as in no one sees you or listens to you and you're left wondering if you even exist at all. At a 9-to-5 job, we do our tasks, meet our deadlines, have some meetings, then go back to our tasks and deadlines. If I weren't there, another person would be sitting on my chair doing the exact same thing. Isn't that wild? Maybe it's not true for all jobs, but a good portion of them. It's like we are spinning our hamster wheels non-stop, trying our best. And all our efforts seem unimportant. You deliver what you needed? Good. Here is the next one. You didn't deliver? Bad. Now do this and the next one. We like to think we are special, but sometimes it feels like we are completely irrelevant, doesn't it? Like, why are we even here? Why add another living, breathing human into this mess? But consider this. There are billions of people around the world. I don't think we can fathom how many people that is. 1 billion is something outside of our capacity to imagine. And a side note, there shouldn't be such a thing as billionaires. But anyway, billions of people and still somehow each person is unique. Some people might look alike, some might act alike, some might be identical twins. But even then, their fingerprints aren't the same. The way we move through the world is also unique, how we see things and how we interpret them. The things we believe and the ones we don't. Whether we see things as black and white or gray changes from one person to the next. The way each person takes in the world adds their own context to it and comes up with things is utterly unique. People might have somewhat similar ideas, but they aren't the exact same. Maybe that uniqueness shows us we exist. We are not irrelevant or invisible. Our uniqueness is why we exist. I can only talk about what I know and what I've seen, which is aspiring artists, writers, and creatives like myself struggling with this feeling of invisibility and the need to feel seen. Maybe it's a thing of our egos. It seems a bit egotistical to crave to be seen, doesn't it? And saying it out loud feels even worse, let me tell you. Doing this episode, I thought maybe I should choose a different topic because I didn't want it to sound like artists or anyone really is begging for attention, Like, I'm crying, me. I don't think it's that simple. First off, we all have egos, and pretending we don't is a waste of time. We should keep our egos in check for sure, but not ignore them completely. But most importantly, I think there's a deeper layer to the need to be seen. Maybe as artists, our creations aren't complete without the eyes of the spectators and readers. I heard a philosophical question that made me think about this, but I couldn't find the philosopher. But it goes like this: if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Some would say it does. Some would say it doesn't. Because sound, like everything else, is a relationship. The sound only exists when something or someone hears it. Without a creature nearby to hear it, how can the sound exist? Maybe I'm tripping and I've been quarantined for too long, but that makes so much sense to me in a philosophical sense. Scientifical, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but hey, people don't believe in science either, so what's the difference really? If I create some artwork but no one sees it, or if I write a story but no one reads it, do they really exist? Maybe that's why we document our lives on social media so much. We want to feel like we are being seen, so that we exist. Because if we are absent, we are not seen. We are invisible. When I was in high school, pre-smartphone history, and I missed a day at school, I would wonder whether people would miss me or not. We couldn't text much because it was expensive and we used to call each other on landlines after school. So I would wonder if someone would call. Now I don't want anyone to call me ever, and I don't have a landline. But the point is, I didn't want to be forgotten for not being seen. I wanted to feel like I exist even in my absence. Back to our creative struggle here. What I've been wondering lately is whether what we create exists without the eye of the beholder. Maybe it doesn't, not completely. We say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so does it not exist without the beholder? I thought creating things would make me an artist. Painting, drawing, writing. I thought that expressing myself and letting creativity flow would complete me. And I wasn't entirely wrong, but something is still missing. The more I think about the tree in the middle of nowhere, the more I question whether any artwork can be whole without a viewer. Viewer in a broader sense doesn't have to be seen, it can be heard, it can be felt. Anyway, you get the idea. If an artist goes by unseen, does she exist as an artist? When we hear about art history, most of what we hear about are white male artists. It's a very Eurocentric or North American thing. Well, art history tends to exclude other continents, such as Africa, South America, Asia, and so on, as well as any person that is not a white male artist. But society has made all of that invisible to the point that it seems to be non-existent. It all exists, the art, the people, except that we aren't looking, so we don't acknowledge its existence. It feels like people keep screaming louder and louder into the wind, begging for others to look at them, but they all go unseen and unheard. No one is around listening or looking. Maybe we can't hear others because we are screaming too. The internet has made our world so vast with so many possibilities. Maybe we see so much that we see nothing at all. We hear so much that we hear nothing at all. Everything seems invisible while standing right there. Everyone is screaming into the void of social media while others watch it go by on mute. I found this rant I wrote a while back, and I think it fits perfectly here, so let's hear that next. A rant on visibility. I've been invisible for too long. I've been forgotten since the last time I was remembered. I've forgotten myself. I lost myself along the roads I've taken. too many roads to remember, and I am nowhere to be found. Would I remember to look for myself if I knew I could be found? Would I forget to remember to find me? Nothing can be found if it's not looked for or known. What we seek can be found without ever existing. We see what's not there just to find what we're looking for. We scan rooms, roads, rages, and ranks in search for confirmation, not the truth, while the invisible remains unseen. You can only find what you're looking for, regardless of its existence. Our eyes remain in the dark for all the things we have no light. Other things stay too bright for our eyes to see anything at all. We can't see anything in the dark, but we can't see anything that's too bright either. Even if we wanted to see it all, there's just too much out there. And as creatives, it feels like there are so many people out there already doing things that feels similar to what we do, isn't it? The best part about the internet as a whole is that it levels the playing field, because now we are not restricted to agents, art elite, galleries, or whatever. We can all share our work and we have an opportunity to be seen by others around the world. And that's amazing. But maybe the downside is that the likes don't feel like the work was indeed seen, do they? Like the viewer actually connected with your work somehow. Creators have the ability to make others feel seen when their work hits home with the viewers or readers. But how can the creators themselves feel seen? And when we are online, we can see what the world is doing, which is inspiring and daunting. For me, at least, my brain starts going on a spiral of why bother doing anything if there are other people already doing it and doing it much better than I could ever do. Then it's downhill from there. RuPaul, the drag supermodel of the world, from RuPaul's Drag Race and other shows, would call this voice my inner saboteur. And he suggests we acknowledge the voice but keep it in the back seat, not the driver's seat. This is one of the few podcasts out there that you can find philosophy, poetry, and RuPaul all in one tiny episode. That's why I love it. Maybe part of us is afraid to be seen and would rather be invisible. When we are not seen, we are not judged. It feels safer. Like, as a woman, I would feel much safer walking alone at night if I were invisible. But that's a discussion for another topic and maybe another podcast altogether. But nonetheless, I think in a way we feel like as soon as we are seen, we are in quote-unquote danger. So it's better to be invisible after all. It seems like we need to be seen to exist, but being seen feels dangerous. So we hide and hope to go by unseen. Speaking of fear, let's go to another poem. Inside. The door stood still, ajar. I could have seen the world, but I did not dare to get closer. What if the world was not the one I'd seen? After all this time, locked inside this tiny mind, could reality match my dreams and fears? The light slipped through the gap, and every once in a while I could see shapes and shadows sketching my walls. Birds and branches, I'd guess, or perhaps there were no sketches at all. Outside was never night, at least not as dark as the inside. The darkness made me invisible. In between those walls, the world couldn't see me through the crack of the door. I guess in life and in living a creative life, it's crucial that we find comfort in being seen. We need to sit with that fear of judgment that comes with visibility and learn how to put it in the back seat instead of the driver's seat. Because if we let it drive, it will drive us straight to the shadows and close the door behind it. That sounds like a 90s horror movie, but it's kind of true, isn't it? As much as we say we don't want to be invisible and we want our art to be seen, deep down, sometimes we don't really mean it. I know I definitely feel that. As soon as anything resembling a speck of success shimmers at a distance, my immediate response is drive away, drive away, drive away, and I don't even realize that I'm doing it. I guess dealing with that fear, as any other thing we talked about in this podcast, starts with acknowledging it. Now that I see it, the fear is no longer invisible, and I can find ways to work through it. So how can we make ourselves as artists more seen? How can we feel less invisible? Do you feel invisible too? Or do you feel more like you're hiding? DM me on Instagram at memento.mori.lab and let's chat. Or just come say hi. Let's end this episode with a short poem. Island. I'm still here, forgotten or not. On top of this island, the waves did not take me. The wind was not strong enough. Somehow I'm still standing tall. All alone, I wait to be seen. Feet buried in ashes, stuck to the past, but still here. If you related to this episode, let me know on Instagram. I'm always curious to hear your thoughts. And it would mean the world to me if you could share it with your creative friends. And yes, this is me begging for attention. Thanks for hanging around till the end. See ya.